Personality in young adulthood.
This is Jamie and Pat. Jamie and Pat, from time to time, find themselves in very similar situations, some of which might seem less than favourable. Perhaps there has been a disappointment of sorts, something that has already occurred, such as a poor mark on an exam, or a situation that has yet to happen, for example, a job interview. We will discuss how Jamie's and Pat's control beliefs ultimately have the strong potential to influence the situation's overall outcomes. We will discuss the two types of perceived control and the elements within.
There are two types of control, primary and secondary. Primary control refers to an individual's attempt to change the external world so that it corresponds to their personal needs and desires. Secondary control, however, is targeted at the internal world and involves individual efforts to influence their own motivation, emotion, and mental representation. If we look at the case of two students, Pat and Jamie, who are preparing for an exam, we can see how they would deal with this situation differently. Pat prepares for his exam by using primary control, which would involve studying for his exam well in advance instead of last minute, or isolating himself from his friends to focus more on his studies. Jamie, on the other hand, would use secondary control, which would involve positive thoughts for encouragement and believing they can succeed.
There are two elements of perceived control, locus of control beliefs and perceived competence. Locus of control beliefs can be internal or external. An internal locus of control means that you believe that your actions and behaviors can change the outcomes of situations. Take Jamie, for example. Jamie believes that how well she studies will affect the outcome of her test scores. An external locus of control is different, and you believe that situations can't be changed by behaviors and are the result of external forces. For example, Pat doesn't think that studying will change the outcome of his test scores, as he believes that the design or the fairness of the test will determine his mark. Say that the marks come in and both people have done poorly. Jamie will believe that she should have studied more, whereas Pat will believe that the mark is not a result of studying habits, but something else. Levinson describes two types of external control, powerful others and chance. Perhaps Pat thinks that random chance or that the teachers are to blame. Pat is not likely to study harder for the next test, however Jamie is. Another factor affecting personality in young adulthood is perceived competence. High perceived competence means that a person can accomplish goals, and low perceived competence means that they are unable to accomplish goals. Perceived competence is twofold. It is a matter of believing that you are competent in an area combined with the ability to achieve goals. For example, Jamie wants to play the saxophone in a band, but doubts her playing skills. She sets goals to practice playing the saxophone, but she rarely accomplishes them. She could be described as having a low perceived competence when it comes to learning the saxophone. Pat, on the other hand, believes that he is very good at painting and wants his artwork to be featured in a gallery someday. He sets goals to paint various pieces, and he often follows through on those goals. This indicates that Pat has a high perceived competence when it comes to painting. Perceived control and perceived competencies can change over the lifespan and from task to task, even within the same individual.
As we have heard, whether we take matters into our own hands to affect our life circumstances, or failing that, we take our minds into our own hands in how we choose to frame our circumstances, our control beliefs have the capacity to either make our goals a reality or make it so that we don't even try. As Henry Ford apparently once said, whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you're probably right. However we look at it, our control beliefs have an impact on our life satisfaction. If we cannot physically meet our goals in our external world, we can alternatively accept not meeting those goals, rethink our goals, create more realistic goals, and thereby, in the end, ultimately meeting our goals.